Welcome to Salar Uploads. And at the outset, I would like to ask you this socio education survey. It was earlier planned for 90 days. It has now been crunched to 2 weeks. So, how is the Commission going to conduct the survey in this short duration?
Well, that's really a misconception. We were given the window of 90 days to conduct our survey. The 90 days is from the day the government makes an order. The survey which we are expected to make involves several things other than physical survey at the ground level. It requires certain preparation. Preparation in the sense of preparing the questionnaire, identifying who should do the survey. Several aspects involve lots of preparation time. The enumerators will have to be trained. All that takes near about 1.5 months or 2 months. If you see the previous surveys as well, they have not taken, actual survey did not involve so much as is being perceived. Now we have identified the Dasara vacation as the time when the actual fields are going to be done. Factoring in that, we have started our profession. We had started much earlier as well, immediately after the cabinet decision. Now, hopefully we should be able to complete the preparation work, namely identifying who will survey, what are the questionnaires that are required to be asked, what is the scope of what survey, who is to be supervisory authority, who is to train, how it is to be trained at what level, and such issues which require to be addressed. It also needs printing of handbook for the benefit of the surveyors. So that's the time which is spent for preparation. So the actual survey would be, as has been pointed out in the media, is 15 to 20 days. That is the time from 22nd of September to 7th October. That's when the teachers are on vacation. Now, the whole idea is that our survey should not affect the teaching program. Students should not be disturbed by the survey work, because that is the mandate by the orders of the court. It says you should not take away the teaching value by the teachers any of this kind of a work of survey or enumeration even for the census, etc. Now, that being the case, we have estimated the time to be actually involved in survey work of about 15, only 1 or 2 days here and there. The earlier surveys conducted also physical survey involved only that is done. We have the benefit of advancement in technology. Unlike earlier Kantaraju Commission survey, we will be using the hand-read device which captures the entire data and automatically transmits it to the main server. Now, this survey work is, if the matter is taken from God and the teachers are involved in survey part, after having been trained, they will go from household to household. There's an estimated household of 1.35 lakh households, consisting of about 7 crore population in the state. Our task is to survey every household, every resident of the state of Karnataka. Now, that being the case, we have apportioned the number of surveyors required and how many houses he visit and conduct survey. Hopefully, a surveyor should be able to survey about 8 to 12 households, which will involve about 30 to 40 minutes. And given the time frame, we should be able to complete that survey. Now, once the survey is done, Now it is automated and gets captured in the main server. The analyzing of that data also takes some time. So the first 1.5 months, the survey work, and then 15 days, which we estimate is the requirement for analyzing the data, completing the survey work.
The survey will be conducted from 22nd September to 7th October,
That's right.
which is a Dasara vacation. And Dasara happens to be a state festival. And people usually take a short vacation. Do you expect people to be around when the people come to the houses to survey? Can you ensure a foolproof enumeration?
Well, that's our hope, and we expected to do that to the entire 100% of the households. Our process would not necessarily be by physical enumerators. To the maximum, it will be by the enumerators who would visit every household. Taking note of the concern which you just now explained, we are trying to design a survey which would be pre-notified even before the actual survey works, once our preparation is over, wherein we will allow the online survey as well. People who are planning to go out, people who are not likely to be there. Some of them may be working during the time when it is scheduled. To facilitate them, we have also thought of providing for an online survey option being given to them, who can go to the particular website and participate in this survey work. Even thereafter, if somebody misses, we have provided for contacting them thereafter and making sure that every household data is available to us. We'll be involving the clusters, like in the city like Bangalore, you have apartment complexes. We'll be involving the welfare association. We'll be involving those who we can reach out to make sure that there is an orderliness in securing this data. The government did have some problem in places like Bangalore when previous survey was conducted. We have taken note of all the concerns that were expressed, and we are trying to address it. You can be rest assured it would certainly cover the entire population, and we'll find out the ways and means to reach out every household. See, earlier there was some kind of what you call reluctance or udasinate in participating, people under the impression that it is not for their benefit. If the government is surveying for scheduled caste community to determine some issues between them, if we are not, why should we be volunteering and taking time of ours to participate in this kind of a survey? But that doesn't arise in our survey. That is the reason why it is being pointed out. Our survey is going to be different, a model one. This survey doesn't involve Samiksha, doesn't involve only identifying the backward classes. This involves social, educational, economic, political, employment status of the entire residents of the state. Now, you may ask, why is this data required? The government uses this data in formulation of its policy. Several welfare measures are taken by the government, not necessarily confined to sections of the society, but across. Just to give you an example, the government went before the electorate saying that this would be our welfare measures in future. How the electorate accepting such a welfare measure to be for good governance have elected this government, and they have, in furtherance of what was held out, have guaranteed that by implementing it. It is under implementation. They are also welfare measures. Now these welfare measures need to be checked periodically as to whether it is working appropriately, where is the shortcoming, how to improve it, what further welfare measures need to be introduced. All these are the aspects which a good government continues to keep in mind while ensuring a governance. These are all mandates by the Constitution itself. The Constitution, apart from Article 15 and 16, which provides for reservation, also contemplates under the directive principles of state policy that you should do this for the welfare of the people. They are the directive principles which the good government is duty bound to factor in. Now, if you read the provisions under the directive principles, each one of these programs which the government initiated are backed by the mandate of that provision.
Now, teachers have opposed the decision to enlist these services as enumerators because they say it violates the Right to Education Act. And the provision says that their services cannot be utilized other than for teaching purposes. So how do you plan to implement?
That is again a misconception. The Right to Education Act is for the betterment of the education to the children of a particular age group, 6 to 16. Now, the courts have examined and pronounced as to the right of the students, and therefore I started with my saying earlier also that we will ensure that not a day, not a moment of the teaching program of the students are affected.
No, here the teachers have opposed that they don't do the...
Under a misconception that those orders were in protection of their rights. The teachers are governed, they are the employees of the state, and I'm not saying in any disrespectful manner, but the teachers are there to do the service to the state. The teachers also owe the duty which every one of us owe to the society. So if in a program to ascertain the requirement of the state, the government calls them to participate in a program like this, I'm sure once they realize what is the purpose and how it is not going to affect their interests or their concerns have been addressed by the government, they will come forward. It is too early, maybe because of the media play, sometime some information is being of their right being violated and all that. The order of the court is with reference to the student's interest. The teachers, if they are employees of the state, they have obligation to serve the state. Now, whether you can compel them or not is a different aspect. Therefore, the commission has evolved a proposal, a package, which is fairly attractive for them to take it forward. We are not ignoring their deprivation of their vacation. The teachers' vacation will only get deferred. We will convert the days for which they work, being deprived of their vacation, into earned leave. And that earned leave can either be encashed or availed in future. There are very limited number of earned leaves for every employee in the services of the state. Now, if we compensate this deprivation of their vacation by extending that period in future, that should address the concern of the teacher. Now, therefore, we will be taking steps to involve the leaders of the Teachers Association, others concerned, and teachers themselves, that this is a job which is being entrusted to you, looking to your trustworthiness, looking to your commitment to the society, looking to the tremendous trust the society has in your doing work, and we are neither violating your teaching job, which you are duty bound towards the students, but your concern also is being addressed in an appropriate manner. They had earlier evolved certain packages whereunder they were being paid some sums of money. The package is under consultation before the government. It has not yet materialized. But I'm sure once they realize the package which is proposed should clear all these doubts in the minds of the teachers, and we should be able to persuade the teachers to join us in this is an effort being made by the government in furtherance of a good governance. Every citizen is expected to participate in the good governance, and I'm sure they'll be proud once the work is carried out to the satisfaction.
Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has asked the Commission to study the socio-economic, political and educational survey which was done by the Telangana government, which is now considered as the role for all caste service to be done in future. So what was Telangana's USP, the unique selling point?
I understand. See, our state act provides for assessing the status, social and educational, of the citizens for purpose of benefits being extended under Article 15 and 16 by the express provisions made under Section 9 and Section 11. Because the Supreme Court has held in assessing the backwardness, every factor of the social backwardness, educational backwardness, financial backwardness, all that are to be factored in assessing the overall backwardness of a community. Now, that was what was being conceived in, with reference to all the commissions which had surveyed. Now, insofar as Telangana is concerned, they did not do it under the provisions of Backward Classes Commission of Telangana State. They have an act just like ours, because that's mandated by Supreme Court to all the states. Every state has a backward class commission. Now, the survey which was done by the state of Telangana was not under the provisions of Backward Classes Commission. They included in their survey the survey of employment and survey of political representation. Now, therefore, it got expanded. It covered entire requirement for a good governance. And that is what they meant when they said, you look up the survey work done by Telangana and try to evolve through whatever process that can be evolved from that. Under the Telangana process of survey, it was done by the governmental authorities, planning authority of the state of Telangana. In fact, our secretary is visiting Telangana on Monday to find out what else or how best they have done it. On learning, if there is something to be incorporated, we will incorporate in our survey. But then you can be rest assured our survey will be the model in terms of what is being referred to as the Telangana survey to be model. Because we will be doing not only in the context of the provisions of the Act, but also in the context of every welfare measure that is being taken by the government. These data will be available to the government for budgeting, for initiating newer programs for the citizens, for addressing several other issues which go into in decision making and in furtherance of good governance. They would like to address every directive principles which the Constitution provides for. Therefore, in that context, a reference is being made of the Telangana survey work which was done recently. They did not take much time, they did it in 50 days' time. They surveyed all the households and have given a report. But then when the report was presented to the assembly in Telangana, the chief minister specifically made it clear that this is not made under the provisions of the Backward Classes Commission Act, nor is it for the purpose of identifying who is backward, for the purpose of determining the reservation to be provided under Article 15 and 16. Therefore, the issue or the recommendation which Telangana has made of increasing the reservation to 42% doesn't get affected by the restrictions which the Supreme Court has imposed by way of Indira Sani and other judgments, where there is a cap for the reservation. That's only an advice by the Commission saying that this should be 42%. If the 42% is the reservation for backward classes, when you add the reservation provided for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, it goes way beyond 50, which is the cap put by the judgments. It is in that context a loud think is now being made as to whether there should be a reconsideration of that very issue of capping it to 50%. See, the basic principle under which this 50% cap was put was that under Article 14, it contemplates equality. Every person should be equal to the other. The provisions under Article 16, 15 and 16 were exceptions to that, saying that everybody should be equal. The idea was that in our society, there are equals and unequals. So the whole idea was to bring the unequals to the level of equals. And that's why when the constitution framers debated it, they said the reservation which you will provide to the unequals should be to a minority group, because once you take it above the 50%, then it changes that equality clause itself. Therefore, a rationale was evolved wherein they said 50% should be the maximum reservation, maintaining everybody on an equal footing. Now, times have changed. The new numbers of the group have changed. Now, if you actually go into the numbers taken out by way of these surveys, it goes as high as 84%. Now, 84% can't be equated to the balance 16% to say that they are equals. So, therefore, there is a thinking in the people who have to ultimately take it forward as to whether this cap needs to be addressed again, because it is not achieving the purpose for which the reservation was provided for. If you are providing reservation of 85% equivalent to what you provide for 16%, it would not be equality. That's a thinking process. But then we are now governed by the pronouncements of the courts, and therefore the state as of today has maintained that 50% bar which is there by the pronouncement.
Why was there a lukewarm response to Kantaraj Commission or Justice Nagmohan Das Commissions when the enumerators went to houses?
That's what I pointed out to you. Maybe it is because they thought it is not meant for them. Certainly, our survey is not restricted to backward classes alone. Our survey is for the benefit of entire state. We will be evaluating or assessing, collecting the data in regard to their social status, educational status, economic status, political representation, employments in the governmental authorities, in private sector, in corporations, etc. So therefore, this is meant for not only for reserved category but also non-reserved category. Now, if it is for my benefit, I'll certainly participate in the survey work. Now, that needs to be taken out from the mindset of the people to point out that this survey is actually for the benefit of everybody across the state. Now, once that is driven home, I am sure there will be a larger participation from everybody. There was also certain processes which missed out some people because of the mechanism by which this was evolved. As I mentioned, we will be pre-announcing the parameters under which the survey would take place. the format would be made known to everybody beforehand so that they get ready with the information that is required. For example, some people may not have the the uh, the ration card handy or may not know the Aadhaar card number, which may delay the process of survey work. So therefore, the idea is to bring home the fact that these are the questionnaires we will be asking to each one of them. Now, once they are aware and they are ready, then the survey work goes on. That way, we will be cutting short the time which was involved earlier in survey work. Now, apart from that, we will be also providing for survey before they actually go to the field, or those who cannot participate or stay back at home to wait for the surveyors. We will provide for online survey. Suppose if I am a working person, I can't be there at home waiting for the surveyor between 10 and 5 because I am working someplace. He can fill up the data online and then complete the process. Now that's having been thought of now, pre and post. It would take care of the entire survey all across the state. Such issues cropped up mainly in cities where people are working and are not. But here we'll be intimating them what time probably the surveyors will come, which day they will visit. We'll program it in such a way that it is citizen friendly.
How foolproof will be the online filling of the data? Because anybody can sit before the computer and fill it.
See, this survey is actually a self-declaration. That can happen even when you go with the enumerator. Now, this foolproof which you asked me maybe is in the context of whether we identify the person who is giving the data. This data will be done based on the ID of the person, the Aadhaar card, this thing. So state already has most of the information to identify this person is the person who is giving the data. Now we will ensure that the entire data which is recorded there is a printout of that for the benefit of that person. It's called preview of the data collected. He will go through it. He will certify that it is in order. Then it gets locked and goes to the server. Now, the person who goes to survey will be geotagged so that it ensures that he has visited the place. Survey work commences at a particular time. The entire format of the data which is loaded on his handheld device operates only between a certain time, from morning when he starts the work and when he completes. So there's no way of meddling with the data in any manner, nor can there be a duplication. So therefore, we have realized what were the pitfalls in earlier survey, and we are trying to address all of that, and I am sure there will not be any such scope for that kind of manipulation being done.
The center has also now included caste enumeration along with the caste population census, which will start from 2026. So once the center's report comes, will your report, which will be ready by then, will that report override your report?
That's a misconception actually. There are two things to look at. One is our survey is for the benefit of good governance, to initiate programs or refine whatever programs are in existence, including the reservations. The present stand, as I understand, as a citizen of this country, they want to have a caste survey along with the census. Census is basically governed by the Provisions of Census Act 1948. That does not allow going this side or that side than what is provided under the Census Act. There's no such provision enabled under the Census Act for a caste survey. Of course, government can always amend the provisions and then bring about a caste survey. Now that caste survey will not address or would not capture the status of persons. It will only say this person belongs to this caste, this person belongs to this caste. That's the number it gathers. That's how I understand the purpose of their caste survey. Assuming that they would do as we are doing, capturing the status, social, educational and economic of the citizens of the country entirety, that is what is contemplated under Article 340 of the Constitution. There is an express provision in the Constitution under Article 340 providing for this survey of assessing the social status of the citizens of the country, addressing their difficulties faced and evolving the remedial measures. That's the express provision under the Constitution. Now the government for some reason has not yet fit to invoke the provisions of Article 340, 338 for the scheduled caste, 338B for the scheduled tribe. For some reason they want to include in this. As I understand from what was held out by the minister at some point of time, they want to have this caste survey, caste census for the purpose of delimitation work, for the purpose of providing for the distribution of the seats between women, reservation for women and several other programs. So therefore that is altogether a different work to be done by the census authorities and the survey by the state authority. In fact, this question arose a long time back, way back in 1996 in regard to UP state, later in 2015, where the state had a list, the center had prepared a list for the purpose of reservations under the respective field. Then the case was resolved by the pronouncement of the Supreme Court that state has full authority to prepare a list. So also the center, they operate in different fields and there is no conflict and nothing overrides the other. So if you keep that pronouncement in mind, question of the data collected or programs initiated by the central government with reference to census has absolutely no bearing with the survey being conducted by the state government. It's already been settled. This was settled when this conflict arose, when they had provided for reservation in the elections, local body elections. There the Supreme Court has already resolved. So it's all by somebody not knowing what is the legal position, loosely talk about that overriding this. The state has equal right to provide for a survey and based on that program its developmental activities, welfare measures and furtherance of its good governance.
What is the status of the case pending in the Supreme Court pertaining to the Bombay government which scrapped 4% reservation for OBC Muslims in 2023? Has the commission taken any steps to get that case withdrawn or vacated because the Bombay government said it will not implement after the Supreme Court acted for the decision being prima facie faulty and shaky?
I understand. I don't have every detail of that case, but there is again certain misconception in regard to that. After the survey was done by Kantaraju Commission, his term had come to an end. He could not make a report. There are two functions under our Act. One is to survey, and based on that survey data, advise the government in tweaking the list which is prepared, which happens under Section 11. Now, before he could send a report based on his survey, his term had come to an end. Therefore, the successive government appointed Jayaprakash Hegde as the chairman of the commission and he was asked to take note of certain grievances except brought about before the government by a certain subsect of a major community in the state. Now, having asked him to look up their concern, he referred to the data which was available with the government. Naturally, the data would be that of Kantaraju Commission's data. And based on that, he formed an opinion and advised the government that this is possible. Now, what was advised was to change the groups. See, once the data is available, to extend the reservation in the manner known to law, the government decides which community should have what portion of the reservation which is available. That's limited. 32% is the maximum which can be given to backward classes. So therefore they make a category, the most backward, less backward, and otherwise entitled to reservation. So grouping is done. Pravarga 1, 2, 3, the block 1, block 2, block 3. And in that they fit the communities based on the population of that community. Now, in the highest of the order, there were certain communities which were held to be entitled to are described as most backward, and certain percentage of reservation was provided for. Now, the request by the community whose cause was being examined by Jayaprakash Hegde was to put them in that block and remove certain communities from that block, which was accepted and done based on an interim report by Jayaprakash Hegde. But however, that was subject matter of litigation. It went before the Supreme Court in a case which went before the Supreme Court. When government realized that it was on a shaky ground and did not want to have the comments by the court, undertook that they will not implement that interim report decision and continue the list which was notified by the 2002 after the report by Ravivaram Kumar. So the status quo was maintained from that. But that interim report itself said this is subject to final report to be made by Jayaprakash Hegde's commission. Jayaprakash Commission has made a report now. The report is not discarded or accepted. It remains with the government. Government felt that the data which was the backing of this report was 10-year-old, and the law contemplates that it should be a contemporaneous one. So only on the ground that the data which was the basis of report is a decade old and the court has said it should be a contemporaneous one, the government felt that it should be resurveyed so that you have a fresh data from which they can review the revision, as they say, under section 11. Therefore, the matter is still pending, but that order was only to maintain the list which is operative from 2002.
Now, are you referring to the 4%?
Correct. The Muslims were grouped in category 1. They were pushed down to D. I am not very sure of the exercise done. Certain subcaste was pushed above and certain subcaste were brought down. The exercise was not to take away the reservation for Muslims. That's a mistaken notion. They were pushed down with a limited reservation. But in any case, an undertaking was given that would not be operated by the government. They did not want any decision being taken. Now, that was only an interim measure. Now that a full-fledged survey is being made, I am sure the government will bring it to the notice of the Supreme Court that this is all unnecessary. Please allow us to go through once we have the data and once we take a decision. So it doesn't come in the way of government taking forward whatever work it has initiated through this survey, fresh survey which is contemplated.
As chairman of the Backward Commission, so how do you view the caste discrimination which is deeply ingrained in Karnataka's social fabric? Does it pose a challenge to the backward classes movements?
It is basically for the government. And so far as the commission is concerned, our task, statutory duty is to survey, examine the grievances of people who complain of either under-inclusion or over-inclusion, and advise the government. It is for the government to take a call on who should come in, who should go in, how much reservation should be given. That's the framework of the legislation. The question which you asked me can be answered by any lawyer if he has some knowledge about it.
You are a former Advocate General of Karnataka.
Yes. Now, way back when Constitution was framed, they initiated all these provisions for reservation, etc., taking note of the historical background, how a certain section of the society was suppressed. They were called as depressed class, and movements had started right from Sahu Maharaj's time, further down by Ambedkar. They all demanded some kind of a welfare measure being provided for the suppressed class. And that got crystallized after the debate in the constitution framers into provisions like Article 14, 15, 16, directive principles. All these are directed against ensuring equality. Now, in any society where there is a dominant caste and suppressed, they are required to accept the constitutional mandate. So therefore, even for political reasons, somebody makes an issue. Ultimate aim of the government is to bring about welfare of the citizens across the state. So I don't see any such, once people realize what is the purpose, how it is taking forward, why it is necessary, this kind of a outcry may not be there, hopefully. That's what I feel as a citizen of this country. But as I mentioned, it has nothing to do with our work. It's for the government ultimately to resolve if there is any imaginary feeling of the difference between one class of society and the other.
Winding up this interview, reports of all backward classes commission from LG Havanur to Chinnappa Reddy, the Venkat Swamy, and now Kantaraju's commission. They were mired in controversies or rejected. So, in all these precedents, do they pose a challenge or a deterrent for you to ensure that your report is accepted by the government?
The acceptance or otherwise is for the government under Section 11. But since our survey work and the recommendation based on that would be very scientifically evolved, taking note of all the issues that had cropped up in the past, the pronouncements of the courts and various guidelines that are in statute and constitution, our report is going to be a fair one to be accepted by everybody. So I don't see any such difficulty. The only issue which still disturbs me is that right from the beginning, from time of Havanur, there was a recommendation to confine the beneficial provisions for the benefit of people other than creamy layer. So certain sections of society who were termed as creamy layer by these reports had advised to take it away. For various political reasons, it has not happened. Though they were tweaked by providing for the income criteria to extend the benefit. Hopefully, if this report were to, based on the data available, were to result in some kind of an advice, I'm sure government will take in the right manner and take it forward. I'm confident that it would happen.
Thanks a lot for giving your time.